Mike Fisher with your Medical Minute, brought to you by South Valley Medical Clinic and our man, Andrew Reinhardt. Andrew, you have medical expertise and scientific expertise, but there's also something about this that has to do with relationships, doesn't it?
That's right. If you want to improve the intimacy, get rid of the erectile dysfunction, that is what we do at South Valley Medical, our acoustic wave therapy, backed by Cambridge University, showing it opens up and regrows blood vessels. More blood flow, that's a great thing. If you're struggling with erectile dysfunction, call us now, and you will qualify for the initial assessment exam, even the blood flow ultrasound at no charge, plus a little gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. You're going to love that. It's worth $500 free to those that call now.
Guys, let's get you qualified. Let's get you the information at 214-937-5000, South Valley Medical Clinic, 214-937-5000.
It's heating up in Texas. Be energy efficient. Replace those old windows and enjoy more money in your pocket, and also enjoy a free $50 gift card with window replacement quote. Call Maverick Windows today. That's Maverick Windows.
Maverick Windows. Go new with orange and blue. Maverick Windows. Maverick Windows. Maverick Windows. Maverick Windows. Maverick Windows.
I've said this before, our quarterback room, we got a good group. You know, just all of us coming together. It happened a couple times on the sideline whether it was Trey or Josh came over and was asking questions, I got no problem answering them and helping them out. And I think it's a good group we have, and it'll be good going forward.
Now back to 95.7 The Game.
Man, I'm just so glad it's back. I'm talking about football and fans out there at Levi Stadium. Life looked normal, at least for a couple of hours last night.
Oh, yeah.
Now, it's Jimmy Garoppolo talking about his relationship with Trey Lance. And, hey, say what you will about Jimmy G, but one thing you cannot say about him is that this guy doesn't do it the right way. Jimmy Garoppolo has done all the right things as far as helping out Trey Lance, being that leader, both on and off the field for the guy. And I know Jimmy Garoppolo's got his detractors, and Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't make all the right throws. He certainly frustrates the hell out of Kyle Shanahan. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in this situation. They wouldn't have gotten Trey Lance in this year's draft, would have moved up 9 spots to get him. But Jimmy Garoppolo is a guy that does and says the right things. And he's also a quality quarterback. And I think that, just if I was to go on my Jimmy Garoppolo rant just for a second, the dude's been disrespected by one Kyle Shanahan. Let's not forget, all right? I mean, that Kyle Shanahan interviewed everybody. I get it. But what took me over the top is when you go on that Flying Coach podcast and you're sitting there with your man
Stafford.
Yeah, and you're talking about Stafford and you're just being overly effusive and kissing the butt of your rival down there, that being Mr. Sean McVay, and talking about Stafford and how much you wanted Stafford. All right, we get it. Enough already. We know that Jimmy G's not your guy. And Jimmy G just sits there and he takes it and does the right thing more often than not. But let's start things with a phone call because we know you guys have been waiting. Hang in there. We're going to go out to Benicia, and let's get Trey on the line. What do you got, Trey?
Hey, how you guys doing this morning?
What's up, man?
Oh, man, I just want to talk about some things. Like, I think sometimes as fans, not trying to knock the last caller who called in, but, some of the things that he said, I think we put too much expectations on guys. I heard him mention Joe Montana and Patrick Mahomes. We got taken for granted. Joe Montana was a guy who came in and he did some unbelievable things, like 4 Super Bowl rings. People got to start being realistic. Joe Montana's and those type of dudes don't grow on trees. So your expectations, you got to bring them down just a little bit, bro. Those dudes don't grow on trees every day. Then you're talking about Patrick Mahomes. Those dudes don't grow on trees every day. Give Trey Lance a chance to develop and become Trey Lance. Not Patrick Mahomes, but Trey Lance. And then you get your feelings hurt when they don't turn out to be the dudes that they are. This dude is a rookie. We don't know what he got, and we got to keep it realistic. He didn't play at the highest level of competition. So we got to take that in mind. So you got to say he's still a gamble and a risk at this factor. And I just take your thoughts off air.
Hey, Trey, before you go, man, I got to be honest with you. You sound like the coolest dude in the room. When's the last time you got upset? Come clean with me. Be honest. When's the last time you lost it?
Oh, man, the last time I lost it, I'm going to be honest with you. The last time I lost it, when the Raiders left.
Yeah, I hear you.
Hang in there, my man. Thanks, Trey. Out
Poor
there in
Raiders
Venetia.
fans. Jeez.
How was that show last night?
Show was great. Yeah, for all our Raiders fans on the text line, we see y'all. Cron 4 is the home of the Las Vegas Raiders. We airing all their preseason games. We'll have a pre- and post-game show. So next week, Raiders are down in SoCal. We have a pre-game show, a post-game show. Tune into Cron 4 for that, and you can watch the Raiders game on Cron 4. You'll get to see me host on TV. The Raiders looked okay last year. It was boring. Nate Peterman, he played most of the game. There's no Mariota, no Carr, but the Raiders, they're not going to. They got to get that defense tightened up. If it's not tightened up, they won't win much. But that's been the story of their team for the last couple of years. Bad defense.
At some point, John Gruden gets on that hot seat. You sign that guy to a 10-year contract, and you can only lose so much before you can make as many excuses as you want, but John Gruden's got to be front and center.
Yeah.
Well, we're here to talk about the 49ers right now, and you mentioned something early on, and was that offensive line.
Yeah, oof.
And we're talking about the development of a young rookie quarterback. The last thing you want to do is to speed up that game even more so, because his head's already on a swivel. But when you have an offensive line and guys are, they're pressing you up the middle, they're coming off the edge. Jones got through a couple of times. That's the last thing you want to do to a young quarterback. It can create bad habits. They can start hearing footsteps. And, their clock is sped up enough as it is, and I'm talking about rookie QBs, but now you put pressure on that quarterback, that's just a recipe for disaster. And we saw some of that last night, I thought.
Yeah, and Aaron Banks, their second-round pick out of Notre Dame, I believe he's an East Bay guy. I know he's from the Bay Area. I just forget which city in the Bay he's from, but he went down with a shoulder.
El Cerrito, California, baby. That's my hometown.
Oh, okay. Represent El Cerrito, Aaron Banks. Mike McGlinchey has always been hit or miss his entire career. It's an area of concern. The only guy they have who you can really be comfortable with is Trent Williams.
And he didn't play.
No, and he didn't play.
Yeah.
And Trent Williams is really, really good. He's a Hall of Fame. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. So he eliminates a lot of problems himself when he comes back, but it's still worrisome. And maybe that is why you don't go Trey Lance immediately. Maybe that's why you have Jimmy G in there, because you don't trust your offensive line to hold up for the rook. Like you said, things are already going a mile per minute for a young quarterback. Don't make it worse with a shaky offensive line play, and where he's not only is he trying to process down the field, he's running for his life, so he's not getting smacked, I was watching that Raiders game last night, on our air too. I had the double TV set up. I had the 49ers here. I had the Raiders here because I got to pay attention to both of them, obviously. I'm talking Raiders on TV. I'm talking Niners on radio the next morning. But what's his name was starting for the Seahawks? Geno Smith, the former West Virginia quarterback. New York Jet. He got his jaw broke by his teammate because he owed him $600. He's had a really dramatic career. But he got absolutely annihilated by a hit. He fumbled, slow to get up. I bring that up because that is the last thing you want to see happen to Trey Lance. Not a guy you traded 3 first-round picks for, a guy who is the future. When you bring him in, you want your offensive line to be tight and playing well.
Speaking of that offensive line, let's hear from the head coach. Kyle Shanahan was talking about that very thing last night.
I think there's a couple situations where you don't want to be in some third and longs and stuff. It's never good right there, and you can always get rid of the ball faster just not to take a sack. But Trey's got to find that part of his game, whether to hold on to it, try to make a play, whether to get rid of it. I thought there was a couple times we got beat off the edge where I think we were supposed to help a tackle a little bit from the guys who are in the backfield, which stuff you can go over and review, stuff you want to do in practice, and that they needed to do a little bit better in the game though.
888-957-9570. We're here to talk about the 49ers. This the day after the debut of Trey Lance as the Niners and the Kansas City Chiefs get after it last night. and that was Kyle Shanahan, and he's talking about that offensive line, which just was not very good. But if you want him to be in the game and get some reps, which I think everybody agrees is what has to happen with Trey Lance, well, that's all part and parcel of it, right? And you getting pressured and evading some of that pressure or recognizing some of that pressure it's part of the learning curve and part of what it is that he has to go through. But there's the fine line between putting him in a bad situation with a bad offensive line and not giving him an opportunity to develop and creating and/or bad habits where you're speeding up. You're speeding up his clock, and it's already, as I mentioned, going 100 miles an hour. There's part of the offensive line was not sufficient and not good, but I also think that there were times when he maybe held on to the ball too long or didn't recognize pressure. And then again, that's all part of this. And I'm not a coach, and I don't want to even pretend to sound like one. And I'm not watching this stuff in a dark room on film, but I think that some of it was just bad offensive line play, and some of it is hanging on the ball too long and not recognizing pressure. And again, this all comes from playing the game. And part of this also is sometimes you either have that poise or you don't. And I don't mean to give you a knock on that of one Trey Lance, but I would have liked to see him a little bit more poised, just a little bit more, not happy feet, and just be, I'm in control. The dynamic plays were off the hook, amazing. The upside and the ceiling on this guy is incredible. But he just did not give me, I guess, the overall sense of security. Like, that's a guy who's a seasoned pro. That's a guy who looks like he's been doing it his whole life, even though he hasn't, and that's asking a lot. I just don't have a sense of overall security with him playing down to down, game to game, especially when you're talking about a 17-game season. Should he be the starter for a team that's supposed to go to the Super Bowl? Let's go back out to the phone line. Evan, I want to hear from Drew, who's out in Oakland. What's going on, Drew?
Hey, good morning, fellas. Good to hear you on this morning.
What's up, Drew?
I was all hyped up listening to Guru and the guys last night on the post game, and let me turn the radio down. Sorry. And so, I was going into it thinking, well, this is going to be great, and the future's looking good. But then I turned on the National this morning, and man, they gave some sobering thoughts on Lance. They did a grading on the top 5 quarterbacks taken in the draft, and they actually had Fields 1. They had the guy in Jacksonville 2,
Trevor Lawrence,
and then they had what's his name? The guy that we didn't want here in the Patriots, number 3.
Mac Jones.
Yeah, and so Lance teetered between 3 and 4, depending on which one you listen to. And then they had the guy that went second, 5th. So
Zach Wilson.
I mean, I guess I see it, turning into the National, and they said most of the 100-plus yards that he had was on one play. But kind of like what you're saying, Dan, that, I didn't see enough because I watched it back this morning after the excitement was over of last night. And I get what you're saying. It didn't show me enough. He took the sacks. It didn't show me that this guy would be confident in taking, and granted, it's only one game going into the season, but, we'll see what the next 2 games play out. I guess they'll get more run time, but, I'm leaning more towards the National, where Fields is projected to start game 1, but I don't think Lance should start game 1. What's your guys' thought? Appreciate you guys. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, to answer your question, one, I don't think it's tremendously upsetting that Lance was, ranked 3rd behind Lawrence and Fields. One, I personally think Fields is going to be the best quarterback in his draft class, and that's not indicative of anyone else. I just think very highly of him, and if you watched any of that game, he played really, really well. So, 2, it's just...
What was the knock on him?
I'm still trying to.
Was it the release? His elbow was out. People just got in the weeds and thought that he had a weird release point or something.
It was something. I don't know.
How do you pass on that guy?
I don't know. He like proved he was the best quarterback in college football for like 2 straight years. He was ranked high coming into college. Everything was fine until draft comes up, and then all of a sudden there's all these miraculous problems that arise.
I don't have spirit.
It never makes any sense. But anyway. It is what it is. Who cares about? Yeah, it's just one man's opinion, and I who knows if those guys even watched the full game? Because when you look at Trey Lance's stat line, it doesn't look that impressive. He was, 5 for 14, but he had a lot of drops, He could have very easily been 9 for 14 right there with a bunch of more yards that played Ayuk. He's picking up yards after the catch, too, if he makes that grab. So I wouldn't let them steer you too much from your initial opinion. Maybe land somewhere in the middle of it. But all the quarterbacks played pretty well. Mac Jones, he managed the game, but I don't think Mac Jones is going to be anything spectacular in his career. He might be an average starter, like Jimmy Garoppolo is an average starter, but nothing to write home about. Trevor Lawrence is supposed to be amazing, the way everybody talked about this kid the last couple of years, so he has some high expectations. I already told y'all what I thought about Justin Fields. The one quarterback who I believe is going to be a bum is Zach Wilson. I think he's going to stink. But other than that, man, don't let these national guys sway your opinion too much. You have an opinion. You felt the way you felt for a reason. I'm not saying tune them out and don't listen to a word they're saying, but hey, stick to your guns.
Yeah, the rankings are, I get it. You want to get into that. You want to be amused, and you can look at that sort of stuff.
It's all subjective.
Yeah, and I could care less, honestly, about stats. And I heard that initially after the game and sort of, in the initial aftermath of his debut, people keep throwing out stats. It's a preseason football game. I could care less. I didn't even look at the stat sheet. And I saw the drops, and you take that into consideration. It's just, if you watch enough sports and you do this stuff long enough, you just get a feel. And my feeling after watching him play that he's still got a long way to go. I wanted to have that sense of security. I wanted to feel what it is that Bonte and Chasky, when they were screaming at the hills how amazing this guy is. I don't have a sense of, I don't feel secure with him being my starting quarterback if I was Kyle Shanahan and handing him the keys right now for a team that's loaded to win a Super Bowl this year. There's just too much that I think this guy needs to. He has to certainly go from point A to point B before I need to see more. Go ahead.
When are you going to feel comfortable? Are you like just let's get through this year with Jimmy G, and then next year you enter the all-season program as Trey Lance at QB1? Is there a certain thing? Could you be convinced at some point this year? What's your frame of thinking when it comes to that?
Yeah, and I think that you know it when you see it. And I think I speak for a lot of people that it could be the next game. It could be before the end of the preseason. But you know when a guy, things are slowing down for him, and there's a sense of there's that sense of confidence that begins to exude. And it's not about hyperbole. It's not about talk. It's not about I saw him in practice throw a ball 80 yards across his body, or he did this, that, or the other thing. It's just, does he have all of the intangibles, all those immeasurables that it takes to be a successful quarterback and win a Super Bowl right now? And I certainly haven't seen enough. Let's go out to the phone line, and let's check in with Gloria. And Gloria wants to talk about those Niners. Good morning, Gloria.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call, gentlemen. This is what we have Kyle Shanahan in here for. He has a quarterback that he's going to have to coach up. Now, I see Trey Lance, perhaps Jimmy Garoppolo injury away from getting in there. I see that perhaps mid-season. I also, like you gentlemen mentioned, I saw a lot of drops. I saw some good footwork in the pocket. I saw a nice throw down the field. So I feel encouraged by that. But Kyle Shanahan is going to have to coach this kid up. Like you guys already mentioned, I thought Justin Fields was the better quarterback. He certainly had more experience, more time in the college rankings to play. Trey Lance didn't have much college time, so there's not a lot of footage out on him, so he's going to need time to develop. But as fans, we need to be patient, and we need to see that this kid has a lot of upside, and Kyle Shanahan has to work his mojo, that he's been telling everybody that he's good with quarterbacks and developing them. Now we're going to put his expertise to the test. But I am truly concerned with the offensive line, and I'm also concerned with the special teams. they were horrible last night. Thank you, gentlemen.
The special teams was horrible last night.
That's a good point because, any coach will tell you that special teams win you a significant percentages of games. And as much as we want to overlook it, that oftentimes is the first thing they'll practice and the last thing they'll practice because it's so crucial to the success of a football team. And there's so much nuance, whether it's punt coverage, whether it's kickoff coverage, whether it's kickoff return. And it was bad last year and once again bad this year. And the offensive line, that's the worst thing you can do for a rookie quarterback is to put him behind a porous offensive line. That is the ultimate recipe for disaster.
It kills them, figuratively speaking. Obviously, like it ruins quarterbacks' confidence. It ruins their career before it starts. We saw it happen with David Carr. Derek's little brother, with the Houston Texans.
Oh God.
Seriously. He got sacked at the time. It was a record amount of times he was sacked, and he never had a chance. He just never had a chance. He's the guy who I always think of when I just think of what you just said, ruining a quarterback before it even starts.
And it developed bad habits from that.
Yeah, 100%. They never gave him a chance. They did that kid's career so dirty. Now he's talking about it. Thank God his brother's still around playing, but you see it all the time, and you just don't want. Sam Darnold has dealt with that a little bit. I'm not super high on Darnold's skill set as it is, but like every time I watch him play, it's like the dude's running for his life, and he's not even a runner. So, it's not a runner, not a track star.
I think about Jared Goff in his first year with the Niners. I always bring this up, and Pat Fisher was the head coach, a defensive-minded guy, and Goff was terrible, absolutely terrible, and it's because he had no offensive line, no wide receivers, and then along comes Sean McVay, and then boom, we're going to a Super Bowl. You asked me earlier what I thought about, or when do I think, or will there be a moment when I think that Trey Lance is ready to become that guy? And I clearly don't think it's right now.
Not that guy, pal.
Yeah, and I think about,
You're not that guy, pal, trust me.
When I think about, to answer that question, and just to give you some sort of more of a concrete answer, Justin Herbert last year.
Oh, yeah, he's so good.
Could see it, though.
Yeah.
You could just see it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily, we could talk about his release and the balls, but there was a composure, and you're like, that's a guy, I don't care that he's a rookie. I do not care. Get him in the game. I'll go back in the day and Russ Wilson, and everybody saw that. And they had Flynn who came over from Green Bay, and they paid him all that money, but Pete Carroll said, no, Russell Wilson is my guy.
Unlimited.
Russell Wilson was ready to go right from day one. Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow last year, if I'm in Cincinnati, I thought he was the right move, that I could see something in his release, his composure, and all those things that he did physically, but also you could see that he was ready to take over an NFL football team right from the beginning. I don't see that right now of Trey Lance.
Yeah. Now, speaking of Herbert, do you know the story about how he found out he was making his first NFL start?
Oh, yeah. That was that Tyrod Taylor got that shot earlier in the day, right? And then
which is really scary and like also not talked about as much as it should be. The Chargers almost killed the guy.
Yeah.
Like, that was nuts. But anyway, 60 seconds before he stepped on the field, Herbert said the ball was literally in the air on the opening kickoff when the trainer came up to him and said, "You're starting today," which is pretty cool how he goes out balls, has an amazing season, and looks to be on his way to being a great NFL quarterback.
Against the Chiefs,
yeah,
by the way.
Against the Chiefs. So, I got off on a tangent, but every time I hear Herbert, I think of that story, and it's crazy, and it sucks. It sucks Tyrod Taylor's getting a shot. They almost kill him, and he loses his job.
Yeah, they puncture his lung, and then they're like, sit down.
Yeah.
You're gone. I think it's almost better, if you think in retrospect, if I'm Justin Herbert, that, all right, hey, by the way, we just kicked off. You're in the game. Because think about it. If you've got a week or even a couple of nights to think about
you can psych yourself out.
Yeah, you're not sleeping, right? All right, we're going to continue to talk about – I want to hear you Trey Lance fans. Do you think did you see enough? Do you want him to start week 1 against the Lions? And or is it Jimmy Garoppolo? What about that defense? We can get onto that side of the ball. Did the defense show you enough? Because keep in mind, That was their bread and butter when they went to a Super Bowl and eventually lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, the team they lost to last night in preseason game number 1. It's Dan Devone and Jason Dumas talking about it here on 95.7.
It's Gavin Dawson here for Mark Rubin, 1-800-Lawyers, the official lawyer of the Tolo. Maybe you've overextended yourself and you're wondering, how can I make these credit card companies stop blowing up my phone? The answer, it's simple. Call Mark Rubin, 1-800-Lawyers. There's no shame in making the call to Mark. He knows how to help, and he knows it can be a difficult phone call to initiate. He'll know what to do from there. So let's stop the harassing phone calls from bill collectors by calling our guy, Mark Rubin, 1-800-Lawyers. DallasTexasLegal.com, Rubin and Associates.
Hi, Brad Sham here for Sam Pack and his 5-Star Dealerships, where he's been taking care of North Texans one family at a time for more than 40 years. Sam Pack Auto Group has 6 dealerships: 5-Star Ford of Dallas, North Richland Hills, Louisville, and Carrollton, Sam Pack's 5-Star Chevrolet in Carrollton, and Sam Pack's 5-Star Subaru in Grapevine. No matter what kind of vehicle you want, whether it's a Ford F-150, Expedition, Chevy Silverado, Tahoe, Subaru Outback, or Forester, Sam Pack has you covered. I can tell you personally, the good people at the Sam Pack Auto Group pride themselves on making it easy to do business. No games, no tricks, just good old-fashioned neighbor-to-neighbor deals. Do what I've been doing for years when I need a new car. Go to the 5-Star dealerships: Sam Pack's 5-Star Ford, Sam Pack's 5-Star Chevrolet, and Sam Pack's 5-Star Subaru. Visit sampack.com to find the Sam Pack store nearest you.
Taking care of business.
It's heating up in Texas. Be energy efficient. Replace those old windows and enjoy more money in your pocket, and also enjoy a free $50 gift card with window replacement quote. Call Maverick Windows today. That's Maverick Windows.
Maverick Windows, go new with orange and blue. Maverick Windows, Maverick Windows, Maverick Windows, Maverick Windows, Maverick Windows.
The game.
And I know they got a lot of man-to-man reps. I think they challenged them a bit. I think from what I saw, and I know they got beat a couple times, but I also saw them playing some tight coverage and not giving up. They got a lot of reps out there, and never seemed to tire out. Well, I know they tired out, but they played their hardest. And it'll be good to get that on tape, and as much tape as you could get with those rookies, the better. And I think D'Amico put them in a lot of man situations, which is what we wanted to see. And now we'll grade the tape and see if we can get better or worse from it.
Now back to 95.7 The Game.
Well, we can take a break briefly from the talk of Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo, and primarily Trey Lance in his rookie debut. And we'll talk about the rookies. Trey Sermon, that was Kyle Shanahan, by the way, talking about the rookies last night as the 49ers lose in their preseason opener to the Kansas City Chiefs. Dan Devone and Jason Dumas. Any rooks jump out at you aside from Trey Lance?
No, not really, to be honest with you. I want to see how the rookie lineman does, from El Cerrito. Am I right about that? El Cerrito, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, from El Cerrito, but he got hurt, So, that's going to be the key, especially the key if Trey Lance is your starter, this offensive line. And Aaron Banks goes down with the shoulder. So, we'll kind of see how he plays. But, I'm not even going to lie to you, D. The only rookie I was paying attention to was number 5. I wasn't locked in on anybody else.
Yeah, and Trey Sermon is a guy that they took high. And I know that Sermon is a guy that some people feel as though, there was some talk even early on, a couple of months ago, that Raheem Mostert could be expendable because of Trey Sermon. And, they had this Elijah Mitchell. Trey Sermon didn't, he looked good. He looks powerful, but there wasn't nothing that sort of jumped out at me. JaMychal Hasty was a guy, by the way, not necessarily a rookie, but I thought was impressive in terms of making that first man miss and doing some things in the hole there. But we'll see Trey Sermon's development as well. But the running back position is not necessarily an area of concern. I think the cornerbacks, Diamador Lenore did some good things, and this is a work in progress when you're talking about a 49er football team, especially at that cornerback position and the depth and some of these rookies that they're going to rely on. But I'm with you. Well, that was quick. We talked about the non-quarterback positions for a whole 2 minutes. Let's get back to Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo, because I'm with you. That's sort of where this thing all begins and ends. And whether it's right or wrong, hey, listen, it's a quarterback-centric world we live in, and all eyes are on that person under center. And last night it was Trey Lance. I've sort of let it be known that I think that I didn't see enough, that while he did some good things, there was not a sense of security and or confidence that I got from his play yesterday, and that this is somebody that clearly needs reps and more snaps, and then more snaps after that until things slow down, until he can go through his progression, and he's thoroughly comfortable in that pocket. The first indicator to me, and I don't know how you feel about this, Jason, but one of the first signs that you always look for me, is that strip sack. When you see that strip sack, that's like, uh-oh, yeah, you're still pretty green.
Yeah, ball security in general is something that you need to watch out for, especially with a young quarterback. And but that's something that can plague quarterbacks of all experience levels. Over the past couple of years, nobody has fumbled more than Derek Carr, and he's a veteran. So it's definitely something to look out for. And, even those 2 interceptions that he was lucky he didn't throw in a regular season game, turnovers are what lose you games more than anything else. Is turnovers. And if that's a regular season game, like when you lose the turnover battle 9 times out of 10, you lose the game. It's just as simple as that. There's nothing else that needs to be said. So he's very fortunate that those cornerbacks can't catch. That's why they're cornerbacks and not wide receivers. So I'm not blindly all in on this guy. I saw some of the flaws last night. I saw how one can be under the belief that he is not ready. But I saw the framework. I saw the framework of a guy who can be really, really good.
I think there's this sort of, I don't know, I'm trying to read those that want Trey Lance and that are on the Trey Lance wagon. Do you think that he should, and I'm talking to those of you out there in Niner Empire. I called it Niner Nation. I was quickly corrected that it's an empire, Dan, not a nation. Not necessarily, I don't know the difference between the two, Ev. I'm not, maybe that's smart. Maybe you can explain it to me.
Well, occasionally in the Bay Area at one point, the nation has been referred to as silver and black, so that may be their issue with it.
Got it. All right. But the empire, are you about Trey Lance starting right now? Because it seems as though when I bring up things like, well, there's a learning curve, and you could see that there's still some warts on this guy, and everybody says, well, Trey Lance, not everybody, but those that are in favor of Trey Lance he's so good. Look what he can do. He's such a better athlete, so further ahead. Okay, so do we start him to win this Super Bowl this year?
Yes.
Well, I'm not exactly sure about that. I'm not saying that. It seems as though those behind Trey Lance stop short of having him start the season and be the quarterback of the 49ers. They want to hate on Jimmy Garoppolo, but they're not willing to give the keys right now to Trey Lance. I don't know if that's an accurate depiction, but I'm trying to sense where they're at. Is it you like Trey Lance and you clearly see that he's the quarterback of the future, you're on board with his talent and his athleticism, but you want to see him take over gradually. You want to see him have it be more organic, where he becomes the starting quarterback either this year or next year or towards the middle or the end of this year? Or are you all in on him right now? I can't. There's not a good read on you Trey Lance fans. Where are you? Are you is this the guy right now? Let's go to the phone line. Travis. He's out in the East Bay, and it's Trey Lance. That's your guy, Travis. Talk to me, my man.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, I'm a Niner fan, diehard, 100% rooting for Trey Lance. I think it's pretty clear that he will be the starter at some point. He obviously has more talent than Jimmy. That's pretty easy to see. But I also feel like we already heard leading up to the draft and everything that Trey was the least game ready out of all the main quarterbacks that they were talking about in terms of Fields and Matt Jones and Trevor Lawrence and all these guys. So, to me, I'm kind of like he's right on pace with where we think he should probably be. He definitely has some things that he needs to work on, but he's shown us those flashes that we need to, to have that hope that down the line whenever that may be, he's ready to go.
So, Travis, before you go, what is that pace? What is the ideal time for him to take over as a starting quarterback in your estimation?
I mean, shoot, in my opinion, whenever he's actually ready, and obviously that's up to Kyle Shanahan, whenever Kyle Shanahan feels like he actually gives the Niners the best chance to win games consistently, then I think it's, he's good to go ahead and throw him in there. But until then, you have a guy in Jimmy G who's completely serviceable and can hopefully, hold down the fort until then.
All right, Travis, thanks so much. Do you see what I'm saying, though? There seems to be, okay, we'll play Jimmy Garoppolo, and they can't wait to see Jimmy Garoppolo either get injured so they can say, I told you so, or Jimmy Garoppolo underthrows a guy, gets picked. See, that's why Trey Lance is so much better. Well, okay, let's put Trey Lance in and have him take us to a Super Bowl. And it seems as though the Trey Lance camp is like, well, no, that's not exactly what I'm saying. It sort of has to be one or the other, does it not?
Yeah, it does. And, it's a weird dynamic because, and you always see a fan base split in these type of situations because you have, first off, everyone is 49ers fans, so everybody wants to see them do well and win games. But then you have these two subsections of the fan base where one wants Jimmy Garoppolo and one wants Trey Lance. And if you want Trey Lance, even if you want the 49ers to ultimately win, which you obviously do, you're still going to, even if it's at a subconscious level, root against Jimmy Garoppolo and hope he fails because you want your guy in there. So it's a very weird dynamic. So you'll see like diehard 49ers fans like wishing bad things upon Jimmy Garoppolo, even though that's kind of counterproductive because you want your team to win. So like you want Jimmy Garoppolo to do really well. Because if that's the case, then if he's doing really well, your team is probably winning, but you so badly want to see your guy in there. So it's just an awkward situation. And you see this all the time within fan bases when it's a quarterback competition, when it's a young guy. And, the only way that you won't get that is if just either Trey Lance struggles or Trey Lance is really, really good and he just can't be denied anymore by anybody. But I mean, time will tell. That's the beauty about sports. They usually answer all of our questions just right in front of our eyes by watching the games.
Yeah, and to that point, speaking of watching the games, when you see it, you'll know when Trey Lance is ready. And right now is not the time, as far as I'm concerned. There's no way in hell if I think I got a chance of winning a Super Bowl that I'm putting him in front of Jimmy Garoppolo. And maybe I'm not. I understand him, man. I was one of the first guys to knock Jimmy Garoppolo back in the day when he was doing well with the 49ers. I never liked his accuracy, and I always felt that it was one of those things that didn't show up on the stat sheet because he would have a good completion percentage, but there were guys that had to reach down at their ankles or he wasn't hitting guys in stride, and you couldn't see players run after the catch. And I was always harping on Jimmy for that, but I think Jimmy Garoppolo is better than a serviceable quarterback. I hear that from time to time, or just managing a game. He's not average. He's a better than average quarterback. And I think that, we're getting so caught up and lost in the trees when it comes to Trey Lance's athleticism. Well, you have to prove to me that the athleticism can translate into winning football games. That's what we're here for. It's not the awe factor. It's not the how far you can throw it. It's not the punt, pass, and kick competition. It's not how far you can throw a football in the air. Can you win football games at the National Football League level? That is to bottom line it for you. That's what we're in here for. And is Trey Lance there? And in my estimation, I need to see more. All right, let's go out to the phone lines. Redwood City and Pierre. What's going on, Pierre? Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. Love hearing your show. I would be all in with Trey Lance. I thought he looked calm, confident in the pocket. If he could do half the things Jimmy Garoppolo can do, I would start him. But the final 2 minutes, the 2-minute drill with Trey Lance, he looked flustered and rattled, and he did not look NFL ready at all. So I would start Jimmy, and if the time comes, trade Jimmy during the deadline. So I'll hear your thoughts off there.
Good thoughts, Pierre. Yeah, I think that seems to be sort of, I've heard a lot of people talk about that. And you're talking about that 2-minute drill. And Kyle Shanahan was also alluded to that. We'll get to that sound, Ev, coming up in just a bit. But, that's something he didn't do in North Dakota State. They predominantly ran the football or they were just blowing people out. He didn't have to take a team down the field in less than 2 minutes. So this situational football is something that he doesn't have a lot of experience in.
No, he doesn't. But I would like to see him get some reps with the starters. So now there's only 3 preseason games instead of the typical 4. And historically, the third preseason game is when you got to see the starters play for an extended amount of time. Now maybe I'm guessing it'll be next week you get to see him since there's only 3 instead of 4. I'd like to see Trey Lance get an extended period of time with other starters to really see what that chemistry looks like, see what he can do with a little more talent out there on the field with him. I'm interested to see that. As it pertains, like, NFL is different. It's not the NBA. Like, you don't see many blockbuster trades during the season. Like, not many people are trading for a quarterback at the trade deadline because there's so much that comes with that. You have to learn a playbook. It's just different. It's not like in the NBA where you can just plug in James Harden. Oh, go out there and hoop. It's so much different.
Not like getting Chris Bryant at the deadline.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't see Jimmy Garoppolo getting traded at the deadline. If he's going to get traded, it's going to be before the season. And even now, we're getting to the point the season is – when is week 1? Is it the 12th? September – it's soon. I think it's less than a month away because week 2 is the 19th. So, it's the 12th, September 12th in Detroit. So, it's going to be interesting to see what they do.
We're talking about Kyle Shanahan assessing his quarterback in that 2-minute drill, something he struggled with in practice. Here's Shanahan last night talking about Trey Lance and situational football.
There was some good and some bad. I mean, by no means was it perfect. Definitely missed a couple. There's a couple of spots that you'd like him to go to different places. Sometimes a couple balls that he would have sailed on him. I think he'd like to have back, but he also came out pretty good too, making the right plays, getting the right spots. I think he had a couple drops there, especially on a third down. That I think he could have kept the drive going if we had caught it. But it was a good first day. I mean, I didn't want it to go perfect for him. He liked some things that he can learn from, and be a lot of things we can go over tomorrow.
Is that one of those where Kyle Shanahan is just purposely tempering things because he doesn't want his quarterback to get, over his skis or too excited, and maybe inside Kyle Shanahan is wow, that's my guy. That's exactly who I thought he would be, and I'm so glad I drafted him, and I'm through the moon.
Yeah, he doesn't want to set him up for failure. He's tempering expectations. He's, controlling the narrative. And all that is for the long-term benefit of Trey Lance. He knows what he's doing. And I think it's a smart play. You don't want to get too hype on this guy. You don't want, the noise to become so loud where it's a distraction. You got to keep things in perspective, temper the expectations, and set this guy up for long-term success. And that's exactly what Kyle Shanahan is doing. Here we got on the text line 831. Niners should have picked up Justin Fields instead. More polished, has played in big games, and is just as athletic. That's T-Dog. I'm not going to get on to all that. It was done is done, but I've already said Justin Fields was my number 1 quarterback in the draft. I haven't seen anything that would change my mind at this point. I could be wrong. Who knows? Long way to go.
And we're just getting a taste. We're just getting our feet wet into the football season. All of these guys look pretty good, to be honest with you. And, that's the thing with rookie quarterbacks these days, is that they have closed that gap between the difference of college and the NFL, which used to be so vast back in the day. And now when you think about it, the college game resembles the NFL, and it mirrors the NFL as far as offensive sets and the way they do things. In fact, in some instances, it surpassed the NFL as far as intricacies. I'll never forget, that notable day when Bill Belichick actually caught a flight from Logan Airport out there in Boston and went out to Eugene, Oregon to pick the brain of that of Chip Kelly when Chip Kelly was doing that thing and was ahead of the curve with the University of Oregon, and he wanted to know, hey, what is it that you're doing? I want to implement some of that at the NFL level. And I think that was the first sort of indicator that the collegiate game was on par with that of the NFL. And so what does that mean as far as it relates to quarterbacks? Well, it means that today's quarterback coming out of the collegiate ranks is throwing more balls, has seen more, and they recognize defenses, and more importantly, the offenses are very similar to that of the NFL. Now, the size and the speed of the players at the NFL level is not nearly like that of the college level, but the learning curve, and I think that quarterbacks coming into the NFL and having an impact is something you're going to see more readily these days as opposed to, say, 5-10 years ago. And with that, I think you're going to see that rookie quarterback win a Super Bowl sooner rather than later, so we can put that to bed.
Yeah, it's a matter of getting on the right team. Like I said, we don't see rookie quarterbacks win Super Bowls because just statistically speaking, rookie quarterbacks play on terrible teams. That's just how it is. So, of course, we're not going to see it happen, but it'll happen. This is a situation where you could see it happening. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying that 49ers are going to win a Super Bowl, but this is a good team. When the Pittsburgh Steelers drafted Ben Roethlisberger, he came into a situation with a solid team, a great organization, and he got close his rookie year, and then he ultimately won a couple for them. You know, so it'll happen one day. It's going to have to be the right situation, the right team. When the Jacksonville Jaguars are picking one, or the Cincinnati Bengals, or one of these organizations that historically is bad, you're not going to see it because there's just not going to be enough talent on that roster to win a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You know, Trevor Lawrence is probably going to win like 3 games this year. You know, they're going to stink, and maybe he'll be good ultimately, but. You know, the Jets aren't going to win many football games this year. You know, they drafted a quarterback who can barely see over his center.
I was with you. I thought Zach Wilson, if there was, because every year, typically, there's going to be as much as excited, and the respective cities get excited over these quarterbacks. There's always a guy that's going to be a star, that's going to live up to expectations, and then there's going to be somebody who's going to be mediocre, and then there's going to be one or two bust.
Bunch of bums.
Yeah, that's oftentimes what happens. And I thought that Zach Wilson would be the candidate to be a bust, but watching him play, wow. That release he is very fluid. And maybe that's one of my knocks on Trey Lance. I'm sorry, maybe I'm that guy. I didn't see a lot of fluidity. It just does not give me, it seems hit or miss. And maybe I need to see a little bit more fluidity with his game, with his release, with his ball. He throws a nice ball, but not everything has to be 100 miles an hour. Yes, you want to fit into windows, and yes, you want to be able to throw it and take the lid off and out-throw coverage. That's a good thing. But there's nuance to this sport, and I guess I just need to see a little bit more touch. Yes, a little bit more in the intermediate routes. Hey, some of the guys he's throwing to we should touch on. You know, Trent Sherfield, that was sort of, we heard about this guy locking up that number 3 spot, and that might have done it last night. Did you see enough from this guy where you're like, okay, I don't have to worry about that third wide receiver position?
Yeah, he's been great in training camp. Even before the game, all I was hearing was Sherfield this, Sherfield that. And it seems like him and Trey Lance have a really good chemistry.
Yeah, good point.
And yeah, so I think he has that number 3 spot locked up. You know, Richie James might, like we said, he might be driving Uber in a couple weeks, which is good because they're charging people so much now. So, maybe they're making a good living because Uber is crazy. Uber and Lyft, jeez.
Did you really drive Uber?
Yeah, in Baton Rouge. You know how it is, these small market TV stations, bro. I needed some extra cash.
Baton Rouge? You're picking people up in Baton Rouge? Where are they going?
Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
They going to the local Walmart?
I got really lucky. Because when I drove Uber in Baton Rouge, it's when the company just came to Baton Rouge. It just started. So there weren't many drivers. I was making bank driving Uber. I was making just as much money driving Uber as I was going on TV. And then, after like a year, kind of more drivers signed up and, the return wasn't as good as it was. But yeah, I had to make some extra money when I was down there.
You got to do what you got to do, man.
Yeah.
It's all about survival.
I got some funny Uber stories. That's for another day. But when you drive around
No, it's not.
When you drive around enough drunk people, I went down to New Orleans a lot because people would go from Baton Rouge to New Orleans.
How long is that?
About a 50-minute drive.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Yeah, nah.
I stay out of the South, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, nah.
I'm a Hawaiian Italian brown kid. I don't go there.
It's about 50 minutes, so a lot of times you'll get drunk people going down to New Orleans. A lot of stories. Once I picked up, not to get on a tangent, I picked up an entire. I had a big SUV with a third row in the back. I picked up an entire wedding party. This dude I was taking him to his actual wedding, and he was with like his 3 or 4 groomsmen and best man, and we're in the middle of the drive. It was like a 30-minute drive. He calls me, or he gets a call, and it's from, I guess, someone on the bride side of the bridal party, and she was like, "You guys need to stall. Like, you can't show up to the wedding venue for at least."
Oh, this is like Wedding Crashers.
Yeah, for at least 45 minutes. So he puts down the phone, and he was like, "Hey, like, is there any way you could like drive us to the bar and hang out with us for like an hour before? Like, I'll pay you extra, blah blah blah." I was like, "Sure, man. Like, sure. I'm just time is money. I'm just gonna get me more money." So I go to the bar with these guys, and it's just hilarious. Like, they're getting hammered, and we're about to go to their wedding, and like I'm just the Uber driver chilling with them. Like I have stories like that for days, and I drop them all at the wedding, tips me handsomely, and it was cool. But yeah, I'm saying that to say Richie James, it's no shame in being an Uber driver, because the way you dropping balls, that's looking like it's going to be your future.
Hey, Ev, that's our new phrase now. For a guy that's not going to make the team or is going to get cut, you drive an Uber. I think this guy's going Uber. That's all I'm saying. On the NBA show, Gone Fishing, gone Uber. He's going Uber. All right, we're going to continue. We're going to talk about more Uber stories from a man, Jason Dumas. And also, we're going to hear from Akash Avaranatha. How'd I do, Ev?
Akash Anavarathan.
Akash Anavarathan is coming up next. He's going to talk 49er football, all that and more, right here on 95.7 The Game.
Hi, Brad Sham here for Sam Pack and his 5-Star Dealerships, where he's been taking care of North Texans one family at a time for more than 40 years. Sam Pack Auto Group has 6 dealerships: 5-Star Ford of Dallas, North Richland Hills, Louisville, and Carrollton, Sam Pack's 5-Star Chevrolet in Carrollton, and Sam Pack's 5-Star Subaru in Grapevine. No matter what kind of vehicle you want, whether it's a Ford F-150, Expedition, Chevy Silverado, Tahoe, Subaru Outback, or Forester, Sam Pack has you covered. I can tell you personally, the good people at the Sam Pack Auto Group pride themselves on making it easy to do business. No games, no tricks, just good old-fashioned neighbor-to-neighbor deals. Do what I've been doing for years when I need a new car. Go to the 5-Star dealerships: Sam Pack's 5-Star Ford, Sam Pack's 5-Star Chevrolet, and Sam Pack's 5-Star Subaru. Visit sampack.com to find the Sam Pack store nearest you.
Taking care of business.
Trucks can't stop on a dime. Big rigs need more time. Stay 30 feet back and learn more about road safety at freightntx.org. That's freightntx.org.
It's Gavin Dawson here for Mark Rubin, 1-800-Lawyers, the official lawyer of the Tolo. Maybe you've overextended yourself and you're wondering, how can I make these credit card companies stop blowing up my phone? The answer, it's simple. Call Mark Rubin, 1-800-Lawyers. There's no shame in making the call to Mark. He knows how to help, and he knows it can be a difficult phone call to initiate. He'll know what to do from there. So let's stop the harassing phone calls from bill collectors by calling our guy, Mark Rubin, 1-800-Lawyers. DallasTexasLegal.com, Rubin & Associates.